From a police officer to a secret agent, one understated but masterful performance resulted in a first-time nomination this year. We are in Season 3 of Oscar Rewind, and today I am looking at Universal Pictures' Elite Squad. Based on the novel Elite de Tropa by Andre Batista, Rodrigo Pimentel, and Luis Eduardo Suarez, the screenplay was written by Pimentel, Braulio Montalvani, and the film's director José Padilha. The film, released in Brazil and Latin America in the summer and fall of 2007, before its domestic release in 2008. What is up, everybody? Cinephile Mike here, and it is a new episode of Oscar Rewind where I look back the films of this past year's Oscar nominees and winners. Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any of these throwbacks. Today, we are closing Chapter 2, Breakout Performances. This chapter focused on the early standout roles from some of this year's other nominees, those performances that helped define careers, and today I look at the breakout for one of this year's Best Actor nominees, Wagner Moura. Now, if you've never seen Elite Squad, here's your quick spoiler-free setup. In 1997, the Pope is preparing for a visit to Brazil. However, the neighborhood surrounding the Pope's visit is rife with crime. It is up to the Battalion of Special Police Operations, the BOPE, B-O-P-E, to secure the town and clean up the elements. Leading the squad is Captain Roberto Nascimento, played by Wagner Moura. He is the best of the best, but his work, which does not come with the most sterling of reputations, has begun to take a toll on him and his family. His wife is preparing to give birth, and all he wants to do is take a less stressful desk job so that he is not regularly in the line of fire. So he needs to find a replacement. That is, if his supervisor will let him. Meanwhile, new police recruits and childhood friends Andre Matias, played by Andre Ramiro, and Neto Gouveia, played by Caio Junqueira, are excited to be on the force. But this honeymoon period is quickly ended when they see that not everything on the force is on the up and up. However, they are determined to prove that they can do the right thing and perhaps one day become members of the BOPE. While adjusting to their new jobs, Andre is also balancing dual lives of officer and law student. Attending law school at the same time, he befriends Maria, played by Fernanda Machado, and sees some additional light and happiness until he sees that behind some of the curtains that she and her other rich college friends draw and take certain things that take advantage of said corruption within the force. Now, as we follow back and forth between these two story arcs, we see the BOPE, the officers, and the citizens, both the good and the bad, become embroiled in a battle of drugs, corruption, and, what line does each person fall on? Nothing here is truly black and white, and in the interim, all will come to an explosive head, all before the Pope actually makes his appearance. Here's the thing. For those unaware, there was a lot of controversy around this film when it came out. The most popular film in Brazil, locals praised the film for its honest depictions of the corruption and the issues within the police force, but also looking at the BOPE and those that try to do the right thing by people. While others, predominantly foreign critics, they were not a fan of the so-called unnecessary dialogue, narrative, not dialogue, the narrative, and the glorified violence, and just kind of looking like we're just trying to highlight all these bad things. However, in the intervening years, many of those opinions have been rescinded, and there was a more lauded sequel that came out in 2010. Again, this was, at the time, the most popular film in Brazil, for what they put out. I can see both sides here. Here's what I believe. The film is not bad, and I don't think it glorifies anything. I really feel that some of the depictions, while difficult to watch, may be accurate to the way certain systems function, and let's be honest, there's corruption everywhere, and there are always those that are trying to fight it, and, in the ways that they know how, and certain organizations have very, not to sound like Liam Neeson here, but special skill sets in how they can get things done, and whether you agree or not, these things happen. That said, as a film, right, we're looking at the film, not the history, my biggest issue is the narrative of the screenplay. Not the historical elements they're trying to work in, but the story itself here, because it's an original screenplay based on fact. There's two distinct stories, right? We have the one thread with Moura's Nascimento, and the other with Ramiro's Andre and Junqueira's Neto. Though Andre is a little split from Neto, and that one's the more interesting. So we try to follow these two different threads, and unfortunately, each feels a little underdeveloped, and neither one really comes to a fully satisfying ending, though endings there are. Additionally, to the voiceover point, yes, the majority of the film is narrated solely by Moura, and given that he isn't always present to Andre and Neto's actions, it's a little disconcerting at times when he has this omnipresence. I feel given the film we had, we needed the insight from all three, or at least Andre and Moura. Like, it was too much and not enough. Also, the film introduces other characters that we are supposed to be invested in, but they pop up and become so sporadic in the context that it becomes a bit difficult to track. That being said, on the plus side, why we're here, Moura, he actually gives a very strong performance. It's very raw, and it's very opposite the restrained underplaying we saw in The Secret Agent. You know, it's those moments of rage and some of those quieter moments that deliver. I mean, he is stellar. There's a reason why this is his breakout. However, while the cinematography by Lula Carvalho does attempt to get into the grittiness of the times, at times the atmosphere is a little too dark and it's a little too difficult to follow certain actions, which kind of diminishes some of the performances that we see. I mean, is it common that we've seen it in lower budget indie films with the darker lens? Yes, but here it's a little too much of a distraction. But I don't want to take away from José Padilha. This was only his second film, and his first one is a narrative film following a 2002 documentary. So I appreciate how he tried to put a narrative spin based on the political system, and he got really strong performances out of the actors. You know, it was a sophomore film. And look, it sparked enough interest in me to want to check out the sequel. I'm curious. Now, let's talk about box office and awards. After the film's run, it made $8,744 domestically and $14,750,404 internationally for a worldwide take of $14,759,148. Critically, the film sits with a 53% tomato meter from 36 reviews and an 87% popcorn meter from over 10,000 audience reviews. Award season-wise, the film ended its season with over 80 nods and wins, the most significant being at the Grande Premio de Cinema Brasileiro, or the Brazilian Cinema Grand Prize, their version of the Oscars. They had 8 wins: Best Actor for Moura, Best Supporting Actor for Milhem Cortaz for playing the role Fabio, Best Director, Best Cinematography, Best Editing, Best Makeup, Best Sound, and Best Special Effects, and an additional 5 nods for Best Picture, Best Original Screenplay, Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design, and Best Music. In addition to the other accolades, one more worth noting was the Golden Bear win at the Berlin International Film Festival. I was a bit torn on this one. As I discussed, I understand the two sides of the argument for the depiction. That said, critically, I want you to be trusting what I'm saying here. I really can't go higher than a 3-star on this one. I appreciate the authenticity that they try to present. I didn't, walk away saying, why did I watch this? The narrative just left me wanting so much more. Your mileage may be very different with this one. It may vary. I'd be very curious to hear what you all think. If you want to catch it, Elite Squad is currently streaming on Tubi. And that's it for episode 18 of season 3 of Oscar Rewind and the end of chapter 2. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments which performance from this chapter was your favorite. You have 10 to pick from. Please follow me on all social platforms and Letterboxd, and check out my website, cinephilemike.com, for more exclusive cinematic content. I will see you all for the next rewind, but until then, this is Cinephile Mike saying take a break and watch something new.